Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it is a Wednesday evening, a little after 7 p.m. here. This is a edition of Music Maniacs, and I'm waiting on for my guests to be arriving very shortly. There, it's going to be a while, so give me a few minutes here. We're going to be talking about the new 2024 inductees into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and why it's not rock and roll anymore. I know many people, including myself, Argnoy Strokabine, and a few others, have mentioned it that it's not. Hello? Let's see what we got here. And also, I'm going to be talking about a couple other musical items as well, as long as the guest comes in. Hold on a second there. Give me a while, ladies and gentlemen. I'm trying to get things set up. I'm getting my co host for tonight to do this. For some reason, my computer has been acted up when it gets to sending the information to this individual that I want to bring on. Give me a few minutes. My apologies for any dead air that's going on. One, two, thing. Okay, here we go. I messaged this individual to come on board and have this discussion with me. So give me a while, ladies and gentlemen. Now, as everybody knows, as I just mentioned, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame has announced its 2024 inductees in that's going to be going in there pretty soon. Now, many times, many people, many media outlets, including this one here, has criticized the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame because who they're inducting as for the past few years has not been rock and roll. For example, let me read you some of the inductees, including, let's see what we got here. All right. Stupid advertisements coming in. So I'm sick and tired of that happening there. Some bitch. There he is. He's right here, ladies and gentlemen. Ah, yes. Dave?
I'm here.
All right, sweet. Yes, thank goodness. I'm sorry about the long delay. I didn't know that you were ready at 6:30 this evening, but
No, what I was saying is that I always give myself a buffer of time because if
mm,
you might start earlier, I'm around.
all right there. So my bad for that there.
Yeah,
Anyways, I'm
very
finally
bad.
yeah, I know. So I'll make it up for the last time. But anyways, let's go to the situation here. Now, I heard about this a couple of days ago, and it's been all over the internet, and many people on social media have been talking about this coming inductees into the so-called Rock and Roll Hall of Fame because only two rock artists in the list here, of course, Ozzy Osbourne and the MC5. I'm trying to. Others include Kool and the Gang, which is R&B, Mary J. Blige is
I've got
also
I've got
R&B.
the entire list that's listed. If you'd like me to go through it.
Go right ahead, man.
All right. So under the performer category, we have Mary J. Blige, Cher, Dave
Hmm.
Matthews Band, Foreigner, Peter Frampton, Kool and the Gang, Ozzy Osbourne, and A Tribe Called Quest.
Hmm.
Then there's the Musical Influence Award, Alex Corner, John Mayall, and Big Mama Thornton. Then there's the Musical Excellence Award, Jimmy
Hmm.
Buffett,
Uh-huh.
MC5, Dionne
Yes.
Warwick, Norman Whitfield, and lastly, the Amit Ertegun Award goes to Suzanne DePass.
Hmm.
So we can dive right on into it because, yes, I do like how you said so called Rock and Roll Hall of
Yeah.
Fame
Yes.
because
Art
that's
my
been an issue of contention for many people that actually value the music. And should we start with who shouldn't be listed? Because there's, unfortunately, as always, many people in this list that should not, you know, be within 100 yards of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
I know. And then that's the thing that gets me is that Ark Noya, shout out to him. Hope he's doing well. He's selling his house right now. That's why he's been absent for the past couple weeks.
Well, good wishes to Arcnolia. Looking forward to you coming back.
All right, there. Now, he said many times that it's not, it should be called the Music Hall of Fame or the Pop Music Hall of Fame because the likes of Cher, Madonna, you know, possibly Mariah Carey is being inducted left and right, but no real rock artists, whether it's bands like Blue Cheer, which Art spoke highly of many times in the past. I know we already had Cream, Eric Clapton, the Beach Boys, the Beatles, Sabbath, and like I said before, Ozzy Osbourne and the MC5 are the only two that I'm looking forward to seeing inducted because, me being a Michigan native, along with the MC5, who I once considered the original Rage Against the Machine and some of their music, especially Motor Cities is Burning. You got to check out that track sometime, let alone the album Kick Out the Jams, Back in the USA, and many others. I think the problem is it's like now it's like it's become a joke. And why do you think they're inducting all these different artists from hip hop to pop music? I understand, yeah, Warwick, but at the same time, but she's not really, she's more R&B. She goes original R&B stuff like let's say like Nia Simone or many others. Why do you think the staff at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is like trended towards that side?
Um, to garner more attention, probably, um,
Maybe so.
just to sell more attention. But
Yeah.
it's certainly not about the music because it doesn't fall in line with the definitions of that style of music.
I
And
know it's like,
I see it two ways: either you did rock and roll or you influenced rock and roll. So Mary J. Blige, for example, who's been inducted,
yes,
didn't do either. Why
neither
is she there?
exactly.
Just
I
like
have
A
no
Tribe
clue.
Called Quest. It's rap music. Is there not a rap um, Hall of Fame?
There
I
should be.
mean, but again, you're correct that if they're just going to throw out definitions, just call it the Music Hall of Fame. Bring in whoever the hell you want, and everyone's happy. But if you're going to call it the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, it should be either people who created rock and roll or people who influenced rock and roll.
Yeah, I think Big Mama Thornton may fall under that category because many,
Absolutely,
yeah, because
absolutely.
because many blues musicians from the 30s, 40s, 60s, whether it's Muddy Waters, Charlie Patton, and of course the Devil's Child himself, Robert Johnson, they played a big part in the rock and roll. especially with the British side of things. Many bands like the Yardbirds, Led Zeppelin,
Oh
you
no,
know,
certainly, certainly, and
Eric Burden and the Animals.
yeah, I mean, this year has actually been sort of defined, um, at least by Variety um, newspaper, that it is the most, I guess, what's the word? Um,
Too diversive.
no, no, I no, like very favorable towards British
Hmm.
blues slash rock and roll influencers, because we
Yep.
got that certainly with John Mayall, for
Yep.
example,
Ooh,
Alexis
Eric
Kroner
Clapton.
or
Yep.
Corner,
Hmm.
like, and I'm not too familiar with their stuff, so as always, it's called respect, people. And I looked into some of these artists before we started the show, listening to their
All right.
stuff,
Yeah.
and then realizing, holy shit, they influenced these people. They actually wrote this song, and it was just covered by somebody else. Like
Yes.
Big Mama Thornton, for example. I heard her version of
Ball and
um,
Chain.
Ball and Chain, which Janis
Which
Joplin
yes,
covered
the album
and
Cheap,
took care
yes,
of
Cheap Thrills.
her,
I had that album. My dad had that album in his old collection.
or Hound Dog. Listen to
Oh
her
yeah.
rendition of Hound Dog.
Before Elvis got a hold of it, that's for sure.
Well, it was about 3 years later, but he asked her, and she gave permission, and she got paid, until the day she died, from all these
That's good.
royalties that she got from people, and she was very influential. But
Hmm.
at least most of the people that are listed here, especially because many people will not know the British influence to blues, um, or from blues, like both. It goes back and forth, and how that influenced rock and roll, that early to mid 60s sound, which then influenced bands as large as Led Zeppelin, for example, or the New
Yeah.
Yardbirds, and that
Yep.
how that led to bands of contemporary times being influenced by their sound and then progressing it to rock.
Yes, exactly. And that carries on to this very day. We have current blues musicians like, I guess, what's his name? Johnny Lang, as well
Yep.
as, I guess, Kenny Eric Johnson, if he's a blues musician. I've already heard some of this stuff. Kenny Wayne Shepherd, just as well.
Oh,
I mean, yeah, and let's
oh
not
man,
forget the late Rory Gallagher, who was an Irish guitar player who specialized in the blues. No doubt about that.
just some great stuff. Great stuff that came from that British influence that was, again, surrounded by jazz, blues, R&B musicians, and it formed a unique sound that everyone then started to look at, and then the explosion that came afterwards from that sound and people adapting it to themselves. It really solidified a lot when it came to rock and roll.
Yes. And let's not forget the way the British bands covered these blues classics, like Cream covering Crossroads, the Robert Johnson tune, Led Zeppelin covering You Shook Me by Willie Dixon. One of my old
What
buddies
about
from back in the day still. Mm, go ahead.
no, sorry, you continue.
Yeah, one of my old buddies from Southeast Michigan still loves that song to this day. Zeppelin's cover of "You Shook Me" from their first record.
What
Very
about
fun.
Get Off My Cloud
Oh yeah, by the
by
Rolling
Corner?
Stones. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
they
yeah. Or
covered that
their
song,
version.
and if you listen to the original, that's a good song, and yet
It
again,
is.
you've got the Stones covering it and making it a chart topper.
Absolutely. It's still played on the radio on various classic rock stations to this very day. Let's not forget, the Stones also did their version of I Just Want to Make Love to You years before Foghat did their live version or their studio version of it. Keep that in
True.
mind. Yeah. I pointed it out on to a friend of mine who had this compilation called "Story of the Stones," and that track was included on the one of the cassettes. And he was like, "Oh wow, I never knew that, dude. Wow."
Now, I know we're going all over the place, but I guess to keep up with us, you're going to have to be quite apt. But going back to MC5, for example, I learned about them um, for
Yes.
the show. And again, it's a short form for Motor City 5, obviously referencing
Yep.
Michigan and Detroit
Absolutely.
specifically. But they've
Yep.
got some really good stuff, actually.
They
And they,
do.
again, they've
Yeah.
got that sound, that early, mid, late. Well, again, the whole decade was sort of an evolution, obviously, but you can feel the influences from the early stuff, and then even to um, post 1967, which I think was a seminal point when it came to music. Monterey, for example,
Yep.
I think really changed things. I
Yes.
think actually,
Absolutely.
would you disagree with me if I was to say Monterey was more influential, at least on music, not culture, but music, than
I
Woodstock?
agree. I agree because we had a lot of unique artists during the Monterey Pop Festival. Two of the biggest being The Who and Jimi Hendrix. Both
Hmm.
emerged from that festival superstars soon afterwards. I mean,
Janis
also the stuff.
Joplin also there.
Yep, absolutely. It's like a lot of people came from that festival, mostly new. They came out of that place superstars, no doubt about that. Excuse my fumble of words. And it fits to say that many of the artists from back then were later influenced the artists in the 70s and then so on into the 80s and then to the 90s and such and such, you know? It pities me, however, that some of the kids today have no clue who singer Anne Murray is, for crying out loud.
And she's Canadian.
Yeah, exactly. Like some of the kids out there, still have a hard time trying to find Skinny Puppy, who was a big influence on many of the industrial genre and within the bands out there, let alone Suicide Commando, Leather Strip. I mean, like when you think about it, but let's also go back to other Canadian artists. Like we got to throw this dude, Lawrence Hudd, who originally did sign to the Gypsy Queen before April Wine got a hold of it. But I'm getting off track once again there. So, I mean, so Big Mama Thornton, is a definitely good choice because her, along with Willie Dixon and Muddy Waters, played a big part in the blues influence and many British bands like the Stones, Foghat, the Beatles, Zeppelin, many others out there. So good, Big Mama Thornton definitely is a big thumbs up from both of us here. And of course,
Absolutely. She
yes,
certainly deserves that induction.
yeah, it's of course the MC5 just as well because when you
Absolutely.
yes, because as I stated before, they were kind of like the Rage Against the Machine before there was a Rage Against the Machine, even though the singer didn't rap, left wing politics and shit. But the thing is, they were also, I'm sure you looked up the Chicago Democrat convention that there was a riot going on that they were playing that particular event convention there.
That I did not know. I was
Yeah,
aware
that happened in
certainly of the
68 there.
convention because I
Yeah.
love politics, but I was not aware that that's why I love your show because it's all about music. There's no drama here. There's no
Yep.
idiots or morons. It's all about the music, the master of
Exactly.
music we have
Uh,
here. And I did not, again, knowing full well what happened during that convention, I did not actually know. And this is why I love, again, why I love your stuff because you can tell me the shoe size of an
mhm.
artist of in a certain year of a certain month. You've got this trivia knowledge. So I did not know that that was being played. And that's extremely interesting
Yes, it
considering
definitely.
how we know how that event panned out.
Yes, definitely. One of these, probably should look it up. MC5 68 Democratic Convention riot and what the bullshit that happened during that whole event. I remember Wayne Kramer, rest in peace. He was talking about that incident on one of the local radio interviews. I remember seeing Wayne Kramer play with this group called Detroit Energy had signed him a few times. I remember seeing their old frontman, Rob Tyner. He was playing a couple of solo shows at the Ritz in Roseville around 1990. He had this record out called, I guess it was, forgot the name of it, but it was a pretty good, it was a small crowd, but it was a pretty good show. You know, I mean, you
They
got,
toured all the way to 2022, and
mhm,
in 2024, Kramer actually died
yes, very
from
sad.
pancreatic cancer.
Yeah,
But all the way to the end, and they had a storied history, like him and his bands.
bandmates.
Just yeah, MC5 just really had a very continuous story, and there's a lot out there.
That the MC5 and Iggy Pop and the Stooges helped play a part in the punk rock movement, which would emerge years later on. And speaking of punk rock, you heard that Johnny Thunders died? No, 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 excuse me. Johnny Thunders. My bad. I did a little tribute to Johnny Thunders, who passed away back in yesterday in 1991. So my bad for that, ladies and gentlemen, who are watching right now. But bands like the New York Dolls, are they inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame by chance, or are they still waiting to be in there?
That I do not know. And congratulations on the 19 viewers that you have. We have the first troll in the chat.
And I see it,
Um,
and you know what? I
oh,
see
no,
that.
hold on.
No,
I want to read this out. Oh no, Dave Rose. I can't read because it's the hold on. Let me just
I know.
do this. Hold on. There we go. It's
Oh
got
no,
the
Dave Rose is
logo
here to
blocking
hide
it.
in the corner and
Oh no,
watch.
Dave Rose is here. Time to hide in the corner and watch. Yawning. Okay.
I think
You
we
know.
know who that is. And I
Again, who
removed that.
cares? We're talking music. Again, this is a
Exactly.
topic that we certainly like, and if the hate watchers want to watch you, well, you certainly live rent free in their mind and have a lot of control over their inability to
Exactly.
watch something they do like. Again,
Yes.
it just boggles the mind. Unless you realize that these people are retards, but it boggles the mind that somebody would waste their time on something they don't like. Why are you here? There's going to be no drama other than the shit that you want to pull. But we're talking music and a topic that we're enamored. All the people that have been, especially, and that's why I was talking about this, Earl. This, year has been sort of seminal for that unique British sound that
Mhm.
influenced so much, whether it be blues, whether it be rock and roll, whether it be anything that came after. But again, uh, MC5.
Yep.
Well, no, they're not British, but Norman Whit. Hold on, where is it? Cromer and Mail.
Hmm.
I've got other articles open ready for you, but
All right.
yeah, those two, for example, specifically, because it again that British sound, and Mayal, for example, he was working with the New York. I think we talked about this, the new Yardbirds, and
Yes.
they worked with Eric Clapton.
Yep.
There's a big single called "I'm Your Witch Doctor."
Mm.
Um, which again it was very highly influential, and again being able to work with these people and influence them, and then they in turn take that sound and then evolve it. Yeah, certainly Corner and Mael definitely deserve this. um, and I guess we're gonna have to get into this, especially with Jimmy Buffett. But like,
Yes.
why are we wasting time for rock and roll getting Mary J. Blige, Tribe Called Quest, all these other rap groups, pop groups? Share. We haven't even gotten to Share yet.
I know.
Why are we
And
wasting that time when
I
you
know.
wasted the opportunity to induct Jimmy Buffett while he was still alive?
I
It's
don't know.
insulting. It is insulting for those that appreciate music and think these people should be, valued, not in a music hall of fame, but rock and roll hall of fame. Why is Jimmy Buffett being inducted after he's dead. And so many, this has happened with so many individuals that after they're dead, oh yeah, we're going to recognize you now, 50 years after the fact that you literally revolutionized something.
Yeah, I know.
It's sad, it's disgusting, and I will partially blame it on inducting these music genres that have no business being in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
I know. It's like, Art Canoia pointed out something that very important, and yet he makes sense on this. We have yet to see Jethro Tull inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of
That's a
Fame.
crime. That should be a federal crime.
I agree. Because I understand one of the head honchos at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame has a thing against the prog rock genre. We still have yet to see King Crimson, one of my favorites growing up as a
Yeah,
kid,
you've sent
be
me links to
inducted
their
in there.
stuff.
Yes, absolutely. Or yeah, I know. I guess Yes is in the inducted.
Yeah,
in there.
finally,
Yes, exactly.
I saw them live. Actually, fucking amazing.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, and I know Genesis is in there, but that's mostly the top 40 Genesis,
Yeah,
not
it
the
took a
original
while.
Genesis with Peter Gabriel when he was prog to the core.
Yep.
And the thing it's like, I guess there are many bands
Oh,
that should
hold
be
on. Again,
ahead.
Michael Oldfield is one
Oh
of my
yeah,
personal
exactly.
favorite
I remember.
prog rock.
Yes, your album. Your
Alan Parsons Project. I don't
Absolutely,
think they're in
yes.
the fucking Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but like they influenced Pink Floyd because they were working with people from Pink Floyd. Like
Exactly.
they should certainly be in the fucking Rock and Roll Hall of Fame way before Mary J. Blige is
Yes.
inducted.
Yes, and when you think about it, if there was a New Jack Swing Hall of Fame, she'd be the first name in there because she came out when that scene was coming about in the later '90s and later '80s and early '90s when that scene was at full throttle mode. But yet, however, it's like I don't know if they're running out of names to include or what it was or
No, they're not, because we have tons of people that actually did rock and roll that are long dead that should have been inducted ages ago. You have people today that have influenced the music and they're still not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Again, they're trying to they're wasting. You can hear my frustration, but and I'm sure you're the same, but it's just like they're wasting these select choices with, again, people like fucking Cher. Let's talk. You know what? Let's go talk about
let's
Cher.
talk about her. Yes, definitely, because the only rock and roll thing she did was that self-titled record with, and of course, Heart of Stone. Those two records, those are rock albums. But that was it. Then she went towards the danceable side with that song "Believe," which pioneered the auto tune on the voice.
She was always poppy and disco.
Yeah, exactly.
That has nothing to do with rock and roll, and certainly she's not biting heads off bats or anything like that. But it's polyester full, jumpers and sequins and stuff. That's not rock and roll. That's not rock and roll. So again, for her to be brought in, and they must be keeping her alive with some sort of magic or some sort of shit, because
a magic serum.
She's 1 foot out of the grave.
Exactly. I mean, like, her husband is dead. Like, her lovers have moved on to other things. She's still around. It's like, but she's not really rock and roll. I mean, like,
never was, and never influenced rock and roll. So like R&B, soul, blues, that I have no problem with being inducted in Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, because that helped craft the sound of rock and roll. It influenced rock and roll, or people that create rock and roll. That should be the only two things and objectives that should be considered when inducting people into the Hall of Fame. But again, Mary J. Blige, Cher, Tribe Called Quest, even Kool and the Gang that are being
Mhm.
inducted this year, they've had influence on I guess society to a certain
Yeah.
extent.
Yeah.
Um, just contemporary culture.
Yeah.
Ask a kid today who Cool in the Gang is, and they won't have a fucking clue.
Yes.
Um,
Fortunately,
and sure, their stuff is entertaining, but is it rock and roll? No. Did it
not really.
influence
No,
rock and
it's
roll?
art.
Again, those are the two objectives we need to be going on. Earl, from now on, those are the two things we should be thinking. Did it create
Yep.
rock
So
and roll? And did it influence rock and roll? That's the
that's
only thing, the only argument that we need to be going on. And under those requirements, no, I don't think so. That's not to say that their music isn't enjoyable, but is it rock and roll? It's not. Did it
no,
influence
it's
rock and roll?
R&B.
No.
Nope, not one bit.
And
It's just R&B, and that's it. Plain
and
simple.
Dave Matthews, I'm going through the list here. Dave Matthews Band.
Oh God.
Certainly, they've influenced things. They've eh, been uh,
Kind of
chart
like
toppers,
yep,
but okay, do they deserve it? That's debatable. Are they good? Are they enjoyable? Certainly, but how many other people aren't in the fucking Rock and Roll Hall of Fame that should be there before Dave Matthews? You know,
exactly. There's many others out there, and when you think about it, Dave Matthews, he said in on Howard Stern interview show, excuse me, that some of his guitar playing technique was influenced by Robert Fripp from King Crimson. He mentioned that a few times, in terms of trying to play chords and stuff, the kind of chords he does. So in a kind of a way, one person from back in the day influenced someone in the '90s. That's for sure.
now let's address Joshua Hampton in the chat. Says, why y'all jealous of Mary J? She
We're not
earned it.
jealous. Where
But
she's
that's
not.
the thing, though, is that neither of us are in that position to be a musician with that stature and that
Yeah,
reach. Okay. So obviously, we're not jealous. And more
nope,
importantly, is that we're talking rock and roll. We're not talking about hip
exactly.
hop. If you want to talk about hip hop and the influence on the culture and so forth, then there should be a hip hop Hall of Fame. But rock and roll means rock and roll. And rock
Correct.
and
Yes.
roll will never die.
Yes, and we're not hating on Mary J. We're just questioning the decisions by the staff at the Hall of Fame. It's like, I mean, when you think about it, she
No,
is
my definition is always rock and roll. Did it
yeah,
create rock and roll or did it influence rock and roll? Again,
that's
Mary J.
exactly
Blige, way too late to do either. She's not making rock and roll, and she's certainly not influencing rock and roll. Should she be inducted in some sort of Hall of Fame? Okay, fine, whatever. It's not, I don't care, really. I don't listen to hip hop, not my thing. But if that's what you think, then there should be a hip hop Hall of Fame. This is rock and roll. Big
yes,
difference.
exactly, exactly. And I think a lot of people, my friends on Facebook, and a lot of people on the former Twitter, now known as X, would agree just as well. Especially on Facebook. I mean, like some dude named Alice Anderson, who I used to call the Impaler because he would wear a cape at times at some of the clubs. He said that the exception of Ozzy and the MC5, some of the nominees or inductees are just not really rock and roll. But then again, Big Mama Thornton is one just as well,
But
as
again,
long
it
as
goes
Van
back to the
Dam.
two.
Yep.
It's the two stipulations. It's the two stipulations. Did they influence rock and roll? Thornton
Yeah.
did, or did they
Yes.
create rock and roll? Like
Yes.
MC5 did.
Yes.
Um,
Definitely.
again, those are the two variables that we should be considering. Nothing else matters when it comes to inducting people. Now, let's talk about the three. I think it's three. Um, uh, under the performer category,
Yep.
because we're sort of making our way to the top here, people. We've gone through the list mostly,
Yep. Hmm.
and we're going back and forth. But the three that certainly did deserve to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame for 2024 and should have happened long ago.
Hmm.
Foreigner, Peter
Yep.
Frampton, and
Yes.
Ozzy Osbourne, which would be his second
Yes.
time after being inducted under the guise of Black
Black
Sabbath,
Sabbath. Yep. One of my
which I
favorites.
think was 2006. But regardless, is those three bands certainly deserve to be in there and should have been in there. Well, those three
Long time
entities,
ago.
because Ozzy Osbourne's alone, although like Randy Rhodes, that's when I think Ozzy Osbourne alone, I think Randy Rhodes with him. But
Yes.
okay, let's just consider those three. Those three excellent choices should have been done long ago.
Yep.
And damn, what they did for rock and roll.
They did.
Foreigner,
Absolutely. I mean, like,
fuck,
gosh.
man.
Yes. Now, here's what I would like to see. It would be nice when this induction ceremony takes place for the original members of Foreigner to come on stage and do a few songs for one last time because
Sometimes it
Foreigner,
happens.
yeah,
Sometimes it happens. And I
I hope
believe it's
so.
in October 19th is
Mhm.
the date of I've got to look this up again just to be absolutely certain, but it's in mid-October that
I see.
the ceremony will occur. But
All
the
right.
the the nominees were announced in February 2024. It is April, and about as a week ago, they announced the inductees. So there was voting. Apparently, Mariah Carey yet again was
Mhm.
suggested. And again, I'm going to have to ask why the fuck is Mariah Carey even being considered for a
Oh,
music
God.
genre that she either did not create nor influenced?
Or perform. I know it's good. How I speaking of which, I got to bring this up. You may remember this botch of a tempo of a rock ballad. You remember Def Leppard's "Bringing On the Heartbreak"?
I'm bringing on the
Yep.
heartbreak. Of
Mariah
course I do.
Carey did. Yes, she tried her cover version of it, featuring the guitar player from
Thank God
Jane's
I never heard
Addiction.
that because I can
I
only
heard it only
imagine
a
that
few
it sounds like
snippets
a
of it.
cat
It's
being
horrible.
drowned.
I heard it a few times, and actually somebody played it for me. I was like, God, please, no, forget it. Ugh, yeah, keep it back, bro. Probably it was something worse than that would be Motley Crue's cover of "Like a Virgin." Gosh, and believe me, you don't want to go there, folks. Terrible, terrible. Anyways, Foreigner, they did some great rock songs like "Hot Blooded," "Feels Like the First Time," "Cold as Ice," which still gets played on the radio today. You know, but for some reason, many people started hating on them because they were coming more top 40 with songs like "I Want to Know What Love Is," but yet they had other rock songs like "She's Too Tough," "Stranger in My House," or maybe other stuff like. But then again, that's the radio programmers. They try to concentrate on the ballads because in their minds, the ballads sell the most other all the other songs. They did the same thing with the band Chicago a few times before until the members of Chicago said, "Screw this, we're going to try something different." And when he did that, the company hated him and dropped him.
Yeah, but I do want to add this is that okay, you might be first of all, if you don't notice the pattern when it comes to listening to the radio where all the big hits, supposedly the big
I
singles
know,
are playing over and fucking over again in every
I
fucking
know, I've had
station,
that
you're
issue
not
many
fucking
times.
getting it. Back in the day, because we probably weren't inundated with this, is we would buy the album,
I did know.
usually in vinyl. But again, even the CDs, even the cassettes, they had the lyrics, you had the art. You'd pop that into your stereo, you'd listen to it in hi-fi, and you'd read through the art that was included in the release, whether it be again
Yep,
the album itself. And those double albums were always so beautiful because again they
they were.
provided so much. You had again even you had cassettes that had like
Oh,
what
yeah.
10 plus fucking pages that were stuffed into like the
Exactly.
cover.
I was a cassette man myself back in the 90s and early 2000s. I had tons of them, man. Damn. '80s, '90s, you name it.
Again,
Big on.
then came the CD where you still had the jacket. It was
Yep,
smaller, but you had it. You had the art, and it could be a little booklet.
exactly. Yes, many. Mostly the two disc sets always came with the booklet there, but still, when you think about it, the CDs, the cassettes, the albums, they provided so much details, whereas streaming services very rarely do that nowadays. You got to look on Google Images for
Why?
possibly
Well,
covers.
why? Because they'll just sell singles. When again, back in the proper days, you'd buy an album for the entire album. The good ones would actually play straight through, and you think you were listening to one song. But you
Yeah.
look at the timing there on the jacket. It's like no, you just listened to like eight songs with
Mhm.
different titles, and just because it merged into the next, and Pink Floyd was great at this, but
Yep.
just because it merged into the next song doesn't mean it wasn't a new song. Like
Exactly.
that sort of stuff is so
Echoes.
missing. So because that
Echoes. That's
again, they
probably
were
the best
selling an
example.
album, not a single.
Exactly, and that's what we need to start doing nowadays. In terms of these bands out there, I know a
Also,
lot of these new bands out there. They're like promoting their shit on Facebook, Twitter, on other social media outlets nowadays. It's mostly the bands themselves doing all that.
the last person that needs to be mentioned on this list was Suzanne de Pass.
Hmm.
And basically, she's just an American businesswoman who um, worked all these different nightclubs and stuff. Eventually, hooked up with the
Oh wow!
Jackson Five,
Ah,
dressed them, produced that, had great success, and then started teaching at Harvard Business School and doing lectures there and stuff. So I just wanted to mention that real quickly. This is the hold on. This is the Ahmet Ertegun Award, which is somebody who's not a musician but has somehow influenced, music.
what's his,
I
what's
don't
his first
necessarily
name?
agree with her induction. I can see why she was successful because, again, the clothing that the Jackson Five used was very flashy and very, again, appealing,
Yep.
especially during that time.
Yes.
So it, and again, the amount of effort that was put in to make these, again, like back in those days, there wasn't computers or fucking machines making this. This was all,
Samples. It was real
and like
instruments,
again,
real
sequins
people.
and stuff.
Yeah. Exactly. Now, the award, the name of the award that you just mentioned, does this begin? Does it be spell his first name? I think I know may who know who you're talking.
Ahmet.
EA.
Ahmet.
Okay, Ahmed. Okay, there. Because at first, when I first heard that name, I thought it was the founder of Atlantic Records. But I realized his first name starts with an A. So my bad for that there. But you know what? We got. I wonder if we'll see record executives from different labels be inducted
Don't
because
give
of
them
this.
any ideas.
No, yeah, I
That's
shouldn't do that.
exactly
Yeah.
what they would fucking do. I can totally see that.
Oh gosh, gosh. It was
But
kind of
I would
funny.
say this year's inductees lack. Well, I I can't say lackluster because you have some people that should have been in there long ago. Again, Foreigner should have been there
Yep.
long ago. Peter Frampton, how are you people neglecting Peter Frampton?
Yeah.
He's been doing his final tour for since 2019. He is
Wow.
apparently suffering from myotositis, I believe is the
Really?
pronunciation. And he basically said this is his twilight now.
Mm,
This is the end. He's trying to
wow.
get the last out of him so that he can again try to please people and give them one last hurrah. Like
Hmm.
Peter Frampton, again, the influence that he had, he should have been inducted long ago, but
Exactly.
good for him this year and that he's alive, because that's another thing that people should take, to heart, is the fact that these motherfuckers at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame are inducting people posthum posthumously.
Hmm.
Um, And it's just like, dude, you could have done this 2 years ago and they would have been alive.
Maybe
You've
they're
been
just
fucking around.
maybe they just have their heads up their asses far too long to finally appreciate until the artist is dead, for crying out loud. We also should mention, I mean, like, look how many years it took for Kiss to get in there. And one of the people bitching about that was, of course, radio host Eddie Trunk. He was a big Kiss fan. I know he talks about Kiss should have been in there a long, long, long time ago because look at the massive influence they had on just about everybody from bands like Skid Row, Firehouse, Marilyn Manson. When you think about it, there, I mean, like they should have been there ages back, but it took God knows how long for them to finally get in there. Jeez, by the time
Yeah,
I
and
probably be,
and 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 I think again this goes back to the fact that they constantly try to induct people from pop, from rap, from disco, people that should not have ever been considered.
rock and roll exactly.
And yet
But I don't
you
know.
push out these people that should have been inducted and then they die.
I
So
know. I was wondering if Tangerine Dream is in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame because they had a profound influence on the electronic music
another
era.
band that you sent me, and yeah, they're definitely beautiful prog rock, and you sent me links to them and such, and
Yep.
I wasn't aware of them until you pointed them out. But yeah, they really have some good stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Along with their album At Atem, ATEM, still one of my favorites. Rubicon, another one of my favorites. Phaedra, another one of my favorites. They put out some great stuff there. What are their members? Klaus Schulze, Earlicht, Cyborg, Black Dance, Dune, Body Love. He put out some interesting stuff there. He should have been inducted long ago, as far as I'm concerned. But hardly anybody knows who he was. And he unfortunately is no longer with us. I guess he died in 2021, if I 2022, if I'm correct. I didn't find out about that until later on. And he left. I mean, look up the album Earlicked by this guy. Definitely, it's a mind blower, without a doubt.
It
All
certainly
right.
is.
Yes. Ozzy Osbourne. We got to talk. We could go on about him and the influence he had. That's
Again,
for
that
sure.
also should have happened long ago because yes, certainly he influenced with his involvement in
Black Sabbath.
Black Sabbath, but
Yep.
him
Yep.
alone, him alone. If you've heard his last album, people, you clearly are understanding that this guy made a deal with the devil, and he might act all weird and stuff on camera with his wife. I don't know what's
Yeah, I
going
remember
on.
watching that. I love that
But as
show. That was
soon as
funny.
he's in the studio and he's singing, and yeah, there's probably a lot of post production, but wow,
Yep.
holy shit, can he still hold up?
He can.
And it's not that, look, I love ACDC, but let's just be honest, most of their songs are fucking identical.
I
Okay.
know that's another issue I have. Is like you think that maybe they could at least change up the sound or add some more different juice to the mix there or something like that.
It's the same four chords or five chords, okay?
Same beats
But we
as
love it.
well.
We
Yeah.
love it. But the thing is though, Ozzy Osbourne doesn't do that. Ozzy Osbourne will create new stuff.
Hmm.
And it's just like, first you ask, how is this possible from a guy that you've seen on TV, drug riddled, and doesn't even know what
Drunk.
direction he's walking in, and yet
Yes.
you put him in the studio and you have him write new music, and he produces what he did on his last album.
Hmm.
First of all, that album was great.
Hmm.
Second, how is he even doing it, other than a deal with the devil? But like, damn, does it sound good?
It does. Many of God knows it fits to say that his solo career outdates Black Sabbath. His time with Black Sabbath, I should say. But I mean, like, look at all the musicians he's worked with as well: Randy Rhoads, Jakey Lee, Zach Wild, Bob
I think
Daisley,
that's probably some of the best stuff he ever did was with um,
Randy
Randy
Rhodes.
Rhodes. And
Yeah,
there was a video that came out that went viral somewhat recently where they're listening to stuff that's, I guess, 30, no, more, 40
years
years
ago.
old.
I know where you're
Um,
coming from.
and you've got like a recording of
Randy.
Randy Rhodes, and everyone who's listening to it, next to the fucking mixer, just like throws off their fucking headphones and just like stands up in awe.
Hmm.
And yes, Randy Rhodes still holds up today. Like
He does.
there's so few people that could have matched or could match what he was able to do and what he contributed to Ozzy Osbourne.
Yeah, he was a big player in that. Let's not for also bet you didn't know this. Blizzard of Oz was originally supposed to have been a band. It was Ozzy, Randy, drummer Lee Kerslake, and bass player Bob Daisley. But for some reason, I guess either the management figured it'd be best, to have Ozzy as a solo artist with his band behind him. Just called the album Blizzard of Oz here afterwards. And it fits to say that, Daisley and Kerslake really got this shit stuck to them by Sharon Osbourne, without a doubt. I mean, like, took how many years for Lee Kerslake to get the two platinum albums that he played on, Blizzard of Oz and Diary of a Madman. And this was his dying wish. Of course, Ozzy granted his wish, thank goodness for that. But they should at least got paid royalty money for all that. And when you think about it, because they got screwed in the end. Very sad. And I guess for understand, they decided to redo the bass and drums for, I guess, this new mix that's supposed to be included on this box set of those two releases. Now, Osborne had other great musicians. The drummer from Faith No More, whose name I do not know. Tommy Aldridge on drums, who still today is a fucking powerhouse. You know,
Yep.
Rudy Sarzo, who played with everybody, including Whitesnake, Blue Oyster Cult, and of course Quiet Riot. I mean, let's not forget, he worked at everybody. In fact, I remember there was supposed to be a project they were supposed to do with Steve Vai called X-Ray, but fortunately that project, from I understand, never emerged, sadly. Now, I don't know when Ozzy's going to come out with a new record pretty soon there. Maybe so. I know he could still remain a studio musician slash singer, but in terms of him touring again with his Parkinson's, it's very doubtful when you think about it. He was supposed to do that comeback show at the Power Trip Festival recently, but due to his Parkinson's, he had to cancel out, sadly. In fact, me and one of the clerks at the 7-Eleven, we were talking about that when I was getting me a big gulp before I came home. And she said, it's very sad with the condition that he is right now, but the man is a fucking legend, absolutely. So, cheers to Ozzy Osbourne for being inducted finally after how many years? When you It fits to say that also his career kind of outshined Black Sabbath at that point because they were going through this singer, that singer, that lineup, that lineup. So it fits to say that Sabbath made a bad choice in getting rid of Ozzy, but at that time, when he let him go, his drug use was way bad, along with his drinking. And it's hard to work with someone who has those issues standing in the way of your creativity, musically, that is. So, so I
So we've
guess
gone through the list. We've basically
Mhm.
examined every single inductee of
Right
that
there,
list for the 2024 Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Um,
absolutely there.
we've dived
Who would
deep.
you like? Who would you like to see inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? I know you mentioned Mike Oldfield, and a few
Alan
others.
Parsons Project.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned him. Absolutely, I agree as well because every album he put it out, according to Ark Noia, it was a project when you think about it. There was a different concept, a different theme, a different story.
That's again,
iRobot.
that's why prog rock is so underrated, especially today with the youth who are totally clueless of
Yep.
this. But progressional rock or progressive rock
Yep.
helped it become. You'd have no fucking Nirvana even if it
I
wasn't for
know.
prog rock.
Yeah. Or Dream Theater.
Yeah,
Or maybe
certainly.
Rush. Yeah, Rush. Or maybe Rush. Or maybe
Yes,
bands like
Rush.
Porcupine. Yes, Porcupine Tree included. I remember Ark sent me a clip of their drummer doing the drum solo a couple years ago. I checked that out. No doubt about it. Radiohead. They started
Oh,
out kind of like as
the list
alternative
goes
and went
on. The
towards the
list
prog.
goes on.
Yep.
Again, even less obscure bands like Pink Floyd have influenced tons
Mhm.
of bands, and they're
Absolutely.
the adaptation to the sounds that they heard from Pink Floyd to make it their own have influenced bands even after them.
Absolutely. Oh, by the way, just speaking of Floyd, did you ever check out Dream Theater's live rendition of Dark Side of the Moon by chance?
N-
I s
no,
Oh, it's on YouTube right now. They did the whole album completely from start to finish, along with the tape and the sound effects from the original recording, and they did it damn good. They did. I mean, like they mastered it. They perfected it. They did a great, good job of covering that whole album.
well, certainly something for me to try to check out.
Absolutely. I definitely highly recommend it, along with the album Earlicked by Klaus Schulze. If you ever find that by chance, definitely check it out. You see what I'm talking about. I found that record by accidentally as like, wow, I was strolling through
Also, we didn't actually talk about the daddy. I kind of think it's the daddy of prog rock is Kraftwerk, right?
oh yeah, prog
I
rock,
mean,
techno.
they really sort of set the standard, I guess.
Well, they've not only were prog, they were also techno. They influenced a lot of techno artists, whether it's Chris Liebing, Speedy J, Richie Hawtin, many a techno industrial bands out there. When you
And that
look at
led
it,
to new wave, which we should
absolutely,
actually do an episode on Kraftwerk and how it led to all these different genres that came out of it.
exactly. Hip hop. I mean, Planet Rock by Africa Bambaataa. They sampled a couple lines from Trans Europa Express. For crying out loud.
Certainly way better than Jamaican rap.
I know. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Oh, dude.
Well, at least you don't have
Oh,
a flag over your house, if you know what I'm saying.
right, exactly. Exactly there. Yeah.
But
All
it's
right.
been a great show.
All right. Thank
Again,
you once.
I feel humbled to be in your shadow of your wise knowledge of rock and roll. But it
All
was
right.
great to be here to discuss again topics that I'm enamored and infatuated with, and to be in the presence of someone who knows more than me and can educate me on things that I didn't know. Like, it's just awesome. As again, no drama here. We've
Mhm.
had close to an hour worth of just pure music talk by two
Absolutely.
individuals that love music. You
Hmm.
can't get it any better than
All
this.
right. Absolutely there. Thank you all to people that were watching today. Subscribe to my channel, hit that like button and notification bell, and also subscribe to Dave's channel. It's Devious Dave Rose just as well. Thank you, Dave Rose. I'm humbled by you being on this call, on this program with me. I'm glad that we are able to do it. We got to do it again sometime soon,
Absolutely.
okay? Definitely. All right, there.
Just send out the
All
Dave
right.
signal.
Gotcha. I will do so. And hoping I'm going to get my Skype taken care of to why I'm unable to get a hold of you or are you unable to get a hold of me. It says I'm active all the time. I got to look into that sometime
Well, we
later on
always have
tonight.
StreamYard.
I don't know what the heck is up. I know. We thank goodness for that. I tried to message you on X, the former Twitter, but for some
That doesn't
reason
seem to be working.
my
Starting
I know it's work. It
to
works
think
on
it's
my
maybe your
phone. The
computer,
more
dude.
updated stuff, maybe so. Yeah, I got to look into that for shizzle. All right, there. All right, so Without a doubt, we'll be ending this program and I'll be on my merry way doing whichever comes to mind later on this evening. Probably a bike ride or walk around the area here, as I always do. Thank you once again, Dave Rose, for being on the show. And we will see you later on, guys and gals. Have a good Wednesday night. Bye
Stay
bye.
devious.
Yes.